I never imagined my 900K lottery win would ignite a battle for my sister's life. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The check felt heavy in my hands, too heavy for such good fortune. 900,000. It shimmered in the sunlight like a beacon, but it brought nothing but shadows into my life. My heart raced, excitement coursing through me, but it twisted like a knife as I considered my sister. Mia was my rock. She had fought her own demons and emerged stronger, a wildflower blooming in concrete. But beneath her vibrant spirit, I could see the cracks. The tremors of her smile sometimes betrayed a long-hidden pain. I always promised I'd take care of her, but luck had twisted into a cruel joke. The moment I opened my mouth to share the news, everything shifted. As thrilled as I felt, the excitement dimmed when I saw her face. Desperate, searching me, sister's eyes did not sparkle with joy. They filled with fear, and it suffocated me. What if this changes everything? She whispered, her voice a fragile thread, trembling in the silence. I shifted in my seat, the air growing thick. Just outside, the wind howled ominously, as if echoing her unspoken fears. I tried to laugh it off, but the laughter felt hollow, rattled by the sudden weight of the truth. The money was not just a windfall, it was a storm brewing on the horizon. That night, I couldn't sleep, shadows danced on the walls, whispering doubt into my mind. The phone rang. MIA's doctor. A call that shattered my world into pieces. They found something, the voice said, each word heavy, dulling my senses. We need to run more tests. My stomach twisted. I barely held onto the receiver as my breath quickened. I thought of all the times Mia wasn't herself, the little moments I brushed aside. Each day, her laughter faded like the colors in an old photograph. As the tests loomed large, a chill ran up my spine. What were we up against? I could sense the walls closing in, an inexplicable fear washing over me like a tide threatening to drown us both. We were stepping into a world full of uncertainty, where fortune could easily turn to misfortune. The next weeks were a blur of waiting rooms and hushed conversations. I sat by her side, holding her hand as the weight of our reality grew heavier. I kept seeing that check, a number that should have brought us relief, instead shadowed by the fear of losing her. Promise me something, Mia said one night, eyes glistening with tears. The words felt like a lifeline and a noose all at once. Promise you won't let this money change who you are. My heart cracked at the thought of losing her. Then, the day arrived when we received the results. I could feel the world tilting beneath my feet. The silence was deafening. Blood rushed in my ears as I glanced at Mia. Her face was pale, her body seemed small on that large hospital bed. I leaned closer, searching for answers in her eyes, but what I found was fear, and something else. Just then, the doctor walked in, holding a manila envelope like it contained the fate of my sister. Time froze, the clock ticking loudly in the background. I could hardly breathe, every heartbeat echoing in my skull. The air felt charged, electric, like a storm about to break. Mia, I whispered, and her hand tightened around mine. Could we face whatever was coming together? Is this it? I asked, my voice shaking, barely a whisper. I needed to know. I needed to fight for her. The doctor looked at us, and in that moment, a flicker of something dark passed between USA's secret, a truth that could change everything. My stomach dropped. What if this wasn't just about money? What if it was something more sinister? And suddenly, I wondered if saving my sister was worth the price we might all have to pay. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference, let's connect. The doctor's stillness made every passing second feel like an eternity. Beads of sweat formed on my forehead as I held my breath. The muted sound of a heartbeat monitor filled the room, and I could feel MIA's pulse in sync with Minaya's frantic rhythm, heavy with apprehension. As the doctor opened the envelope, my heart raced, threatening to drown out reason. I searched MIA's expression for solace, but all I saw was uncertainty, a reflection of my own turmoil. "It's okay," I murmured, hoping to calm us both. But as the doctor unfolded the paper, the room's air thickened, pregnant with unarticulated fears. "Mia," he began, his voice steady yet filled with weight. "We found a malignant tumor in your stomach." Each word felt like a stone dropped into the bottomless well of our hopes. My mind raced back to all the laughter we shared, the dreams we spun, the life we wanted to reclaim. For a moment, I was paralyzed. MIA's face drained of color, and her hands slackened in mine. It was as though I was watching a kaleidoscope shatter into 1,000 shards, with our lives spiraling into chaos. The doctor continued with clinical precision about the treatment options, but all I could focus on was Mia. She was silently absorbing the impact of every painful word, and I felt helpless as I watched a flicker of her indomitable spirit wane. "Do I have to?" she finally whispered, her voice cracking, challenging the gravity of what was being laid bare before us. "Do I have to fight this?" The gravity of her question hovered in the air between use and unthinkable option that loomed like storm clouds overhead. The implications washed over me, the weight of the lottery win twisted into an obligation I never anticipated. I wanted Mia to fight, but deep down, I also understood her yearning for peace amid the turmoil. Before I could answer, the doctor recited statistics and survival rates. They were just numbers to me, my stomach sick with the thought of their cold rationality being thrust upon our fragile reality. Then he offered some hope-targeted therapies, options that brought a glimmer of light into our darkened world. For now, hope was a thread to clutch, even if its strength felt uncertain. When the doctor left, the silence was deafening. What if Mia started but trailed off, unable to voice the fear that clutched at her heart? I knew we were both grappling with the same gnawing uncertainty. What if this money didn't save her? What if it only pushed us further apart? A nurse entered to draw blood for tests, and I could see Mia flinch at the thought of the needles, her discomfort palpable. "I'll be right here," I whispered, squeezing her hand. My words were a promise, a lifeline, as if sheer will could shield her from pain. After the nurse left, exhaustion began pressing down on us. I wanted to gather my thoughts, to fashion a plan, but the reality of our situation pressed down heavy on my chest. "Well, fight this together," I finally managed to say, my voice wavering with conviction. But doubt nagged, wondering if my promise was enough. "Mia," I said, bringing her focus back to me. "I know this is overwhelming, but we'll figure it out. Together." As the word "together" hung in the air, a soft knock came at the door. An older woman with silver-streaked hair stepped inside with a hesitant smile. "Excuse me, I just wanted to check in on you both. My name is Rose, and am a breast cancer survivor." Mia looked at her, curiosity replacing some of her fear. How did you get through it?" Rose's smile deepened, and she began sharing her story of resilience, detailing how she found strength in the unlikeliest of places, a support group that fed her soul during her darkest hours. Her presence felt like a gentle embrace, a reminder that amid despair, kindness often flourished. I could see Mia's eyes brighten, a flicker of hope reigniting. For a moment, we were cocooned by Rose's warmth, an unexpected light in our shadowed path. "You're not alone," Rose said, locking eyes with Mia. "And this doesn't define you. It's just a chapter in your story." After Rose left, a silence infused with newfound hope lingered. "She's right," I said, stealing glances at Mia, hoping to catch a glimpse of her fighting spirit again. "You're so much more than this diagnosis." Mia nodded, and for the first time in days, a small smile broke through her uncertainty. Maybe we can find that group Rose mentioned." But just as the glimmer of hope took root, my phone chimed with a notification, the sound shattering the fragile peace in the room. An alert flashed across the screen, a story from the local news. There, bold and blaring, was an article about our lottery win, detailing every sordid glance of our lives now entangled in media scrutiny. A chill raced down my spine. The storm wasn't just looming, it was here. In that moment, I realized that the money held its dark truths, and with every step forward, it threatened to unravel the very fabric that held us together. Mia looked at me, her eyes widening with fear. "What if it changes everything?" she repeated, echoing our earlier conversation. Suddenly, the stakes felt higher than ever, and I wasn't sure we could withstand the force of both illness and the public eye. The news of our lottery win wasn't just a blessing, it was the first gust of a whirlwind that may sweep us apart before we had a chance to fight. As I walked to the window, a knot of anxiety tightened in my chest. Whatever we confronted next, I knew it would intertwine our journey with the looming threat of scrutiny, a battlefield not just for MIA's life, but for the very souls of our hearts. And as I gazed outside, something caught my eye. A shadow darted in the alleyway below, a figure slipping sharply out of focus. My pulse quickened as I contemplated who would be watching us next. The feeling of eyes on me sent a chill down my spine, and I couldn't shake the sense that our trials were just beginning. The dim light of the hospital room felt too heavy, pressing down on us like an unspoken weight as I processed the news, my heart still racing from the article flashing on my screen. I turned back to Mia, searching her face for comfort or understanding, but all I found was reflect on a mirror of all the concerns swirling in the air between us. "Mia," I whispered, struggling for clarity. "We'll deal with this together, I promise. I won't let the world dictate how we fight. You're the one that matters." Yet, amidst my resolve, doubts clawed at my mind like wild vines threatening to strangle hope. Mia remained quiet, her gaze fixed on the window, as if she were watching the distant horizon for an escape from the storm brewing inside her. I took a seat beside her, holding her hand tightly, hoping my grip could anchor her in this turbulent wind of uncertainty. Hours ticked by, meandering through vague conversations and strained silences. The once comforting buzz of the hospital transformed into an echo of our anxieties, and I found it hard to breathe, unable to shake off that nagging fear that the bright spots we uncovered might swiftly be overtaken by shadows. "What if they come here?" MIA's voice shattered the stillness, fraught with a mix of dread and disbelief. "What if everyone starts looking at us like we're different?" I shifted uncomfortably, the thought gnawing at my insides. The media's fascination with us felt like an unexpected flood, capable of drowning the last slivers of our tranquility. "We can handle it," I assured her, though my voice faltered. "We'll establish some boundaries. We don't owe anybody explanations." The spirit of defiance in my voice felt hollow, the world turning upside down shook my confidence. I reached for my phone again, but seeing those capital letters and photos of us plastered online paralyzed me. A pang of guilt washed over me. Could this lottery win actually hurt us more than it helped? Just then, the door creaked open slightly, and the nurse returned, her smile contrasting sharply with our grim realization. "Ready for your first session?" she asked. Her cheerful tone seemed out of place, yet it prompted a flicker of determination from within me. Mia looked between the nurse and me, hesitating. "Session?" she echoed, confusion perching on her brow. "It's some counseling, just a way for you to process everything, to help reduce any anxiety and stress heading into treatment." The nurse stepped further in, her demeanor calming the sharp edges of our fear. "You don't have to. It's completely voluntary." "But many find it helps." That I glanced at Mia, catching a glimmer of hesitation but also a hint of curiosity in her eyes. "What do you think?" I asked softly, giving her the space to decide. I don't know," she murmured, biting her lip. "I don't want to talk about everything right now." "The decision is yours, Mia. Should we try it?" I pressed gently. She hesitated, and just before she could voice her final decision, a loud knock broke through the moment, rattling the doorframe and sending a shudder through us both. Mia?" A voice called from the hallway. It belonged to her best friend, Sarah, someone who had been an unwavering support throughout our childhood. I felt both relief and anxiety collide as the door opened to reveal a wide-eyed Sarah, holding a bouquet of flowers that looked remarkably out of place amid hospital colors. "Mia!" she gasped, rushing over to her bedside. "I heard what happened. Oh my gosh, I was so scared." Her arms enveloped Mia, and, despite the gravity of the moment, I felt a bit of warmth permeate our shadowed world. "Sarah," Mia whispered, her voice trembling as she clutched her friend tightly. "Two don't know what to do." Sarah pulled back slightly, looking into Mia's eyes with unwavering support. "You fight. You know that's what you do best. You confront things head-on. I won't let you back down from this, and neither will the rest of us." Mia nodded slowly, the force of Sarah's words stirring something deep within her. It was the flicker of resilience that I had been praying to see come alive again. But as they spoke, the sound of my phone buzzed again, this time with messages from familiar faces, our family and friends seeking an update, a semblance of control amid the chaos surrounding us. Each notification was a reminder of how exposed we had become. Suddenly, I felt trapped in a whirlwind of warmth and worry, excitement and dread, and I realized I didn't know how to navigate it all without losing myself. "Hey," I said, breaking into their conversation, trying to build a bridge across the tumult. "We were just discussing possibly talking to someone to help process everything." "You should, absolutely," Sarah encouraged, glancing at the nurse who remained a silent observer. "You can't go through this alone. I'll be right by your side through anything you choose." Mia looked between us, the uncertainty still flickering in her eyes. What if I wanted to just give up?" The words hung heavy in the air, darkening the sunlight that seeped through the window. I squeezed her hand harder, willing her courage to flow into me. "You can't think like that. I understand it's overwhelming right now, but giving up isn't an option." Just then, an unsettling commotion erupted outside, muffled yet clear enough to grip our attention. A crowd beginning to form, cameras flashing, a cacophony of voices fueling a firestorm I didn't wish to dive into. "Mia, stay here," I urged, stepping toward the door. "I'll go see what's happening." As I neared the entrance, the tension in my chest tightened with every step. With each passing moment, I felt the walls of our sanctuary trembling, and a chilling realization formed: the world outside was edging closer, and I had no idea what part it would play in this uncharted journey we were struggling to navigate. I turned back to Mia, searching her face for reassurance, but found only anxious uncertainty. Whatever awaited beyond those doors felt ominous, and I couldn't help but wonder if stepping out would change everything once again. As I approached the doorway, the sounds of excited chatter and muffled shouts grew louder, crashing over me like waves against jagged rocks. I hesitated, the door's threshold feeling more perilous than I'd anticipated. Was there really a way to guard our world from the storm brewing just beyond those walls? "Mia, I'll be right back," I called to her, my heart heavy with doubt as I stepped outside the haven of her hospital room. The bright fluorescent lights momentarily blinded me, but soon the sea of reporters and onlookers became clear. Their faces, a blend of curiosity and judgment, reflected the chaos of emotions I couldn't yet articulate. Is it true? Did you really win 900,000? A reporter shouted, her microphone thrust forward like a weapon. Is your sister aware of the attention? How do you feel about her condition? Another voice pierced through the noise. Each question felt like it was aimed directly at the core of my being, a symphony of pressure drumming against the fragile state of my heart. I swallowed hard, readying myself to give them anything that might quell their anticipation, if only for the moment. "Please," I implored, raising my hands in a gesture of peace. "It's a difficult time for us right now. We would appreciate some privacy." Their reaction was almost immediate, a collective wave of murmurs and clicks as they huddled closer, trying to unearth anything they could about our lives. I decided to weave through the throng, hoping to escape the prying eyes that felt like daggers on my skin. Suddenly, a voice rang out, sharp and laced with desperation. Is it true? Are you exploiting Mia to share your newfound wealth? I halted, fists clenching. Was that how they perceived this? I could feel the taut line of anger and sorrow blurring beneath the surface, each accusation threatening to explode. You don't know anything about us. I snapped before my better judgment pulled on my sleeve, urging me to walk away. With every step back toward the hospital room, the echoes of their questions clawed at my mind. What if they were right? What if my lottery win had turned into a self-imposed prison for Mia instead of a blessing? When I finally entered the room, the atmosphere had shifted. Sarah sat at the edge of the bed, talking softly to Mia, who appeared paler yet somehow more grounded. The moment I caught sight of her, the breath in my lungs released a little, but the heaviness in my heart remained. Mia, I said, approaching quickly but cautiously. I could feel the weight of her gaze scrutinizing me. I'm sorry, it's chaos out there. I won't let them get to us. She nodded, though the flicker of doubt in her eyes whispered unspoken fears. You heard, didn't you? Mia looked past me toward the window, where shadows of faces still crouched beneath the bright lights outside. I heard some of it. My voice trailed off, uncertainty hanging in the air, thick and suffocating. Do you think this is all my fault? Her voice was a bare whisper, yet it cut deeper than any shout. Maybe if I just keep quiet, shield you from everything that's happening? No. Sarah interjected, firm yet gentle. You are not to blame for this, Mia. You never have been. It's their fascination that's the problem, not you. But the win it brought all this, Mia countered, shaking her head as though trying to dispel the shadows that loomed large. I knelt beside her, holding her hand tight once more. It was supposed to help, to give us a chance to live differently. I wanted it to bring us something good. The tremor in my voice betrayed the chaos inside me. I wanted to help you get through this. Mia looked between Sarah and me, the warmth flickering again for a brief moment before doubt took hold once more. Just know, if I find myself sinking in this, if I can't find the strength. Her voice wobbled, the admission scary yet freeing. Then we'll carry you, I assured her, willing to lift the weight of the world if it meant keeping her spirit alight. But the truth was, that weight was becoming harder to bear, just then, as if destined to pull us further into the whirlwind. The nurse stepped back in, clipboard in hand. Good news, Mia. The doctor is ready to see you for a preliminary discussion regarding your treatment options, she announced, a glimmer of hope sparkling in her voice. Mia's eyes widened with both fear and resolve. Right now? Yes. The sooner we discuss it, the sooner we can start a plan tailored specifically for you, the nurse encouraged, but the reminder of reality nudged at the corners of our fragile sanctuary. Mia, I began, hesitating as I caught the apprehension reflected in her gaze. You can choose to defer. It's okay to take a moment for yourself. No, she whispered, only just louder than the hum of our surroundings. I need to do this. I need to know. As she prepared to rise, a sudden shudder danced beneath Meth's unmistakable flicker of hope mixed with dread. Everything we'd fought for felt precarious at that moment, teetering on the edge of an abyss filled with all the unknowns we faced. But just as they were about to draw her away, the door swung open once more. Mia! Came a voice that struck through the haze like lightning. It was our mother, pale but defiantly alive, flanked by a solid wall of relatives and friends who had rushed up from the waiting area. The love that surrounded her surged and choked me with emotion. We're here, sweetheart. You're not alone. An unexpected warmth washed over us, a balm for the wounds still exposed. Yet as I turned to watch the unfolding reunion, an insistent buzzing from my phone interrupted. It was a message unlike the others, ominous and urgent. My heart dropped as I read the words. We might need to talk. I know about the lottery win. We need to discuss what this means. The world shifted around me as I processed the implications. Just when I thought we were beginning to find our footing, it seemed the deep shadow of our reality was rising once again, and I had no idea what consequences awaited us around the next corner. The warmth of family enveloped Mia, but beneath the surface, the dark undertow of uncertainty swirled. As our mother rushed forward, arms wide, I watched with a bittersweet ache. The immense wave of relief contended with the gnawing anxiety that had lodged itself firmly in my chest. None of us were ready for the conversation that loomed over our heads like an impending storm. "Mom, you're here," Mia cried, her voice trembling between disbelief and desperation. I am scared that I know, sweetheart," our mother said, kneeling beside her, brushing back Mia's hair with trembling fingers. "But you're not fighting this alone anymore. We're all here." A faint flicker of light ignited between them, an unspoken promise of solidarity, but my mind flitted back to the message on my phone, a specter that haunted me, reminding me of how fragile our moment felt. "Mom," I interrupted, my voice steadying as the weight of revelation pressed against my throat, "I just got a message. They know about the lottery win." Her gaze sharpened, brow furrowing in confusion and concern. "Who knows, the reporters. They're not just outside the hospital, they're digging into our lives. They want a story, and they think Mia's condition and my win somehow tie into that." The room tensed, the air thickening with unspoken worries. Mia's face paled, and for an instant, it felt like time stood still. What will they say?" she choked out, her world teetering dangerously between hope and despair. "They're already speculating, staring at us like we're a spectacle." I turned my focus to Mia, desperate to shield her from the harshness creeping into our sanctuary. "We can keep this away from you. It's your health, your choice." Our mother's eyes shone with unshed tears. "I wish I could take the pain from you, Mia. I wish I could make this all go away." Then, her voice steadied like a steel beam propping up our frail hopes. "But we're not going to let them win. We have the power to control what we share." A surge of gratitude filled my heart, yet it was laced with fear. Choosing to remain silent or confront the media was a heavy decision, one that felt like we were standing at a crossroads, and either path could lead us into darkness. "I don't want to hurt anyone," Mia said, voice breaking. "Just because I'm sick doesn't mean I want anyone's pity or to become a story." "Mia," I said softly, squeezing her hand, "this isn't about them. It's about you, your health, your fight. We'll figure it out together." The resolve in her gaze sent a tremor through me, but just before I could breathe in solace, another unexpected visitor entered the room. This time, it wasn't a family member but a woman in her 30s, her face a blend of concern and determination. She wore a blazer that screamed authority, but her eyes softened at the sight of Mia. "I'm Dr. Eliana Marks. I've been assigned to your case," she introduced herself, her tone brisk yet kind. "I'm here to talk about your treatment options." Mia hesitated, glancing around the room as if searching for an anchor. "I don't know if I'm ready," she whispered, the weight of another choice visibly pressing down on her. Dr. Marks watched her carefully. "I understand. But we need to discuss what's next if you're going to take control of your journey from here on out." Her calm demeanor infused a sense of purpose, drawing my sister's focus back. I watched Mia wrestle with the invitation of hope versus the fear nestled in her heart. As our eyes met, I searched for the right words to reassure her. "You've faced so much already, Mia. You can do this. You're stronger than you think." For a moment, a spark of determination flickered in her eyes. "Okay, can we do it together?" she asked, voice steadier now. "Yes," I replied instantly, my heart racing. As Dr. Marks began explaining the potential treatments and what we might expect, I felt a shift in the atmosphere, a collective willingness to face the storm. However, the tempest lingered outside, pressuring us from every direction. Just as Mia began to nod, her body straining against the chains of fear, I sensed my phone buzzing again. This time, it slipped from my pocket and tumbled onto the floor, screen lighting up with a new message that felt like an electric jolt through the serene moment we were building. "Meet me at the cafe in 15 minutes, it read. "I have something important to share about the lottery and Mia," panic washed over me as the hope I'd clung to began to fray at the edges. "I'll be right back," I murmured to Mia and our mother, though an undercurrent of dread pulsed through my body. Stepping outside the room, I could feel the weight of expectations heavy on my shoulders, both for the truth I was sprinting toward and the heart-wrenching possibilities spiraling inside that hospital wall. And just like that, as I ventured deeper into uncertainty, the harsh reality outside became a suffocating reminder: our battle was far from over. As I made my way down the sterile, white corridor, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, matching the frantic beat of my heart. The message clung to my mind like a persistent shadow, and each step felt heavier than the last. The cafe was only a short distance away, but anxiety twisted my gut, churning like a storm brewing in the pit of my stomach. I wanted answers, but I feared what those answers might bring. When I stepped outside, the cool air washed over me, clearing my mind momentarily. The cafe was nestled between a flower shop and an antique store, a small haven that stood in stark contrast to the hospital that loomed behind me. As I approached, I noticed a small cluster of people gathered near the entrance, their demeanor sharp and intrusive. My heart sank as I imagined the deal unfolding: a reporter with a notebook, a photographer clutching a camera, vultures waiting to pick at our lives. I quickened my pace, slipping inside the cafe. The aroma of coffee filled the air, mixing with the sweet scent of pastries, but it couldn't mask the bitterness settling on my tongue. I scanned the room, and there, at a corner table, was the source of my summons, a man in a tailored suit, his expression inscrutable. "Max," he greeted without rising, gesturing for me to take a seat. There was a confident air about him, which only heightened my unease. "Thanks for coming. Who are you?" I asked, my voice low and guarded. "Jonathan Weiss. I work for a finance agency. We handle lottery winnings." He slid a memo pad across the table, the weight of it like a rock between us. "And your situation is complex." "Complex how?" I pressed. The concern etched into my brow felt insurmountable. I wanted to slam my hands down and demand answers, but the tension in the air stifled my voice. He leaned in slightly, the edge of his professionalism cracking. "I'm aware of the media storm surrounding you and your sister. The amount you won has certainly turned heads, especially given her condition." He paused, watching my reaction like a hawk. "There's a lot of speculation, some might even say it borders on conspiracy." My heart raced as I swallowed hard. Conspiracy? Yes. Questions about the lottery itself and if there's any connection to her condition. It's creating an unfounded narrative. He cleared his throat, his gaze steady. "Some people have even suggested that your win was rigged." "Rigged?" I could hardly conjure a response. The idea was ludicrous, but the unsettling reality was that people would grasp onto any shred of gossip to fill their narratives. "I didn't know that," I murmured, pain twisting through me like a knife. As he spoke, a wave of anger rose within me, flooding my senses. How could they do this? How could they turn our tragedy into a spectacle? He continued, "I recommend you take control of the narrative. Offer a statement, perhaps even a public face for the media to focus on. It might help." He hesitated. "It might help mitigate the scrutiny on your sister." "Help?" I echoed, incredulous. "By turning her illness into a media circus. I know it sounds brutal, but it's a way to protect her. You can hold the power here, Max. If you don't make a move, others will." A chill settled in my bones. The assumption had made, that my family could let this become a story, gnawed at me. And what if I refuse? What if I just want to protect Mia? Then they'll twist your silence into something else entirely. They'll find their story, whether you like it or not. I felt sweat bead at my temples. I need to think about this. My stomach turned as I stood, my mind racing. I couldn't betray Mia with a calculated PR stunt just to appease the sensationalist hunger of the media. But was I condemning her by resisting? "Remember, you have the power to shape this," Jonathan said, his tone firm yet dispassionate. As I exited the cafe, the storm of thoughts swirling inside me rendered me oblivious to the world outside. I felt the drumming of my pulse against my eardrums, but a small part of me clung to hope, fluttering in the chaos like a wilted flower daring to bloom in harsh soil. Back at the hospital, I was once again enveloped by the sterile air that settled over everything. As I approached MIA's room, the sight of her smiling face filled me with warmth, yet the weight of my earlier conversation filled my chest with dread. I wasn't just fighting for her health, I was battling an onslaught I hadn't anticipated, one that would test our unity, integrity, and resilience. "Hey, how did it go?" she asked innocently, a trace of uncertainty lingering in her gaze. I swallowed, the words stuck in my throat, knowing that revealing the truth would unleash fears that could chain her spirit. "It was good. Just some updates. How about you? How are you feeling?" Mia hesitated, then squeezed my hand. "I'm okay. Mom explained some of the things Dr. Marks talked about while you were gone. I think I'm ready for the next steps, whatever that might be." A shaky breath escaped me. "That's brave of you, Mia." But before I could voice the thought racing through my mind, the torment of the impending scrutiny, my mother's voice called from the doorway. "Max. We have a problem." Suddenly, I felt the walls close in as realization sunk in. The battle ahead was not just for MIA's life but for our very identities. And as I turned to face them, a creeping sense of foreboding settled over me, tightening like a noose around my chest. Something was about to shatter our fragile moment, and I didn't know if we were ready for the fallout. "Max, you need to see this," my mom said, her voice trembling slightly. I turned to face her, expecting to see panic etched across her features, but instead she looked palely ashen even. The glow from the overhead lights in the hospital seemed to magnify her distress, casting shadows beneath her eyes. "What is it?" I demanded, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach like a heavy stone. She held out her phone, the screen lit up with a headline that felt like a punch to the gut. "Local lottery winner's sister battles terminal illness, questions arise about possible connection." The article blared at me like a siren, words spilling across the screen that I could hardly process. Nestled between images of Mia in the hospital and photos from our lives was a snippet claiming there were whispers of corruption surrounding my lottery win. "Can you believe this?" I felt my voice drop to a whisper, my throat tightening. "They're linking it to Mia." They'll think everything," my mother interrupted, her voice sharp, filled with the fear of someone who had seen this kind of horror before. That I couldn't breathe. The weight of the world was suddenly on my chest, a suffocating blanket. "What do we do?" "They're going to tear us apart," I murmured, staring at the headline like it was a Greek tragedy playing out before me. "Max, listen," my mother said, gripping my arm tightly, her voice maddeningly calm. "We can't let this spiral. We have to keep Mia stable and away from this madness. The doctors need to focus on her treatment, not this." "And how do we do that?" I asked, my voice trembling now. "By burying our heads in the sand? I can't just do nothing when people are talking about us like we're criminals." Just as panic flickered through my mother's eyes, Mia, blissfully unaware, whispered from the bed, "Are you okay?" I heard shouting. Her small voice cut through the tension, and for a moment, I forgot about the world outside, the media, the gossip, the scrutiny. "We're fine, sweetheart," I called back, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than a genuine expression of reassurance. I walked over to her, kneeling beside her bed, fighting back the rush of tears. "Are you sure?" she asked, her eyes wide, sensing the chaos woven into the air that surrounded us. "Mia," I began, holding her hand tightly, forcing myself to remain calm, there's a lot going on right now, but you're going to be okay. "We're just figuring things out," she nodded, though her brow furrowed, the innocent trust in her gaze hinting that she could feel the undercurrents of fear that threatened to engulf us. As the minutes passed, I lingered by her side, desperately trying to keep the shadows of the outside world at bay. I stole glances at my mom, who paced nervously, the phone still clutched tightly in her grip. At some point, she dropped into the chair opposite Mia's bed, her hands clasped tightly together as if in prayer. "I am sorry you have to deal with all of this, Mia," I said softly, squeezing her hand. "You should be focused on getting better, not this mess." Mama used to say the world sometimes gets too noisy, but you can always find a way to tune it out, she replied, and for a moment, the innocence of a child shielded her from the reality we faced. I wanted so badly to believe that was true, that we could find a way to silence those voices. Just then, a nurse entered with a clipboard, and my stomach twisted again. Was she here to discuss the upcoming treatment, or to deliver more bad news? The weight of expectation seemed to shift drastically upon her entrance. "Mia, how are you feeling today?" she asked, bright-eyed, her demeanor a welcome distraction. "I am okay," Mia replied, her voice strengthening with each word. But as the nurse went through the routine checks, everything around me remained on edge. The chaos outside our bubble loomed relentlessly. I caught myself absorbing snippets of news through the chatter of nearby patients and their families, whispers of the article that had already reached the hearts of some. Their misfortune was a spectacle. No sooner had the nurse left than my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. Heart racing, I pulled it out to see a barrage of notifications. Social media lit up with mixed opinions, some supporting us and others viciously attacking our integrity. The fury of it all felt like a rising tide, each tick of the screen crashing against my sanity. "Max?" Mia called out, searching for my attention, and I hastily shoved the phone back into my pocket. "Yeah, I'm right here," I said, much more brightly than I felt. "Can I ask you something?" she said, her brow furrowing as an expression of uncertainty pulled at her features. "Of course," I assured her, taking a seat beside her, longing for her to give me any distraction from the storm outside. "Am I going to be okay?" The vulnerability in her voice shattered my heart. Her innocence was both a comfort and a burden, a question I desperately wanted to answer affirmatively, but doubts gnawed at me, taunting me with every potential possibility. I swallowed hard, feeling tears brimming in my eyes again. "We're going to fight through this together, Mia. You're the bravest person I know." Before she could respond, there was a loud noisy commotion coming from the hallway. The door burst open, and 2 hospital security guards strode in, flanking a figure in a worn-out trench coat. "Who are you?" I asked, springing up, every instinct kicking in as my heart threatened to leap out of my chest. The figure raised his head slowly. "I'm looking for Max Bailey." A chill ran down my spine. What now? I couldn't fathom more chaos. My entire world felt like it was spiraling out of control, and just when I thought the tide was beginning to settle, this wave crashed over us, threatening to drown us all. As the tension hung thick in the air, the man in the trench coat took a step forward, his expression unreadable. I could sense my mother stiffening beside me, a protective instinct flaring within her eyes as she rose slightly, ready to shield Mia from whatever came next. "2M Max Bailey," I managed to say, confusion mixing with an odd sense of dread. What more could they possibly want from me? The man's voice was gravelly, etched with a seriousness that sent a shiver through me. "I need to talk to you about your sister. There are things you don't know, connections that could change everything." "What do you mean? Who are you?" I demanded, my heart racing as thoughts spiraled wildly. Was this another twist in the media circus, or something more troubling? My eyes darted to Mia, her frail form seemingly oblivious to the brewing storm. "I work for a non-profit that deals with cases similar to MIA's. Patients facing predicaments, medical and otherwise." He paused, glancing around as if wary of eavesdroppers, "related to corruption in the medical industry." "Corruption?" My mind whirled, the word echoing as if wrapped in dark smoke. "What are you implying?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "MIA's treatment is not just about her health, it's about a system that's failing her. I've seen it before, people taking advantage of situations like this. Your lottery win has put a target on your back, but it might also hold the key to what she needs." "What are you talking about?" I felt blindsided, like I was swimming in murky waters, gasping for clarity. "I don't understand. You need to trust me," he said, a strange intensity flashing in his eyes. "I've gathered information indicating that some of MIA's medical supplies might be tainted. There's a group I've been tracking, a dark underbelly of profiteers who manipulate the desperate." My mother gasped, her hand now gripping mine tightly. "How do you know this?" she demanded, raw vulnerability coloring her voice, that I am not here to cause panic, just to help. I came because I think the lottery has inadvertently made you a target. People want to exploit your situation. Things aren't what they seem in this hospital, and if you don't act, Mia could face unseen dangers. That I opened my mouth, drowning in the incomprehensibility of it all. The edges of my vision blurred slightly, and I felt the world narrowing down to that moment. The chaos outside blurred into an echo, the whispers of the media, the sickly glares of other families, all spinning away into silence. "Mia," I whispered, my heart racing. Each second felt monumental, the weight of the man's words threatening to crush me under an insurmountable pressure. "I'm fine, Max. Please," she said, her frailty a soundboard for my own spiraling panic. The man pulled a tattered envelope from inside his coat and placed it on the bedside. "Take this. It contains more information, contacts you'll want to reach out to. Trust your instincts, there are people who can help." My hand trembled as I reached for the envelope, every instinct screaming for caution, yet an ember of hope flickered deep in my chest. If there was any chance of fighting back against this chaos, I had to explore every avenue. "Max," my mother whispered, a blend of protective worry and a flicker of resolve dancing in her eyes. As the man turned to leave, Mia broke through the fog of uncertainty. "Will I be okay, Max? Are you going to fix this?" she asked, her eyes wide, searching my face for reassurance. "I promise," I said. "We'll find a way. We'll take the fight to them, and I won't let anything happen to you." Each word felt like an oath, a lifeline thrown into a swirling sea. With lightning speed, the man suddenly paused before the door, a haunted look crossing his face. "One last thing," he said, his voice much quieter. "If you contact the wrong people, it could jeopardize everything. You must be careful. Trust no one outside this room until you're sure." And then he was gone, leaving us suspended in a tempest of emotion, fear, hope, anger, and confusion crashing against one another within the closed space. My phone buzzed again, and this time, I failed to hide the panic coursing through my veins. I pulled it out reluctantly, heart pounding. The headline that flashed across the screen felt like a slap in the face. "Lottery winner to be investigated by authorities after sister's condition declines. How can this be happening?" I breathed, a deep ache tearing through me. Mia was in danger, but so were we as a family. If the articles were saying this, no one would be safe anymore. Mia's small voice broke through my turmoil. "Max, are we in trouble?" Staring at her, this incredible girl who deserved so much more than the chaos surrounding us, I felt a fresh wave of determination swell within me. "Not if I can help it," I declared, squeezing her hand firmly, feeling the heartbeat of our struggle echoing through me. "I'm going to fight for you, Mia. I promise." And just like that, the walls of our reality felt smaller, more oppressive. But deep within me, a fire ignited, a raw, unyielding resolve to protect her at all costs. As I glanced at that envelope, the weight of my decision settled heavily upon my shoulders. I was crossing into uncharted territory, and I couldn't help but wonder, was this the beginning of a fight for our lives, or the first step into an abyss from which there was no return? The question loomed large in my heart as a path I had never considered stretched out before me, taking us all deeper into darkness. And I could only hope. The hospital room was hushed, enveloped in the kind of silence that pulled at my chest, a stillness teetering on the edge of despair. As I stared at the envelope, the weight of its potential pressed against my palm like an anchor tethering me to the storm brewing inside. Mia glanced up at me, her fragile trust a lifeline I feared I might break. "Max?" Her voice was small, fragile as a spider's thread. "What's in there?" I bit my lip and turned it over in my hands, grappling with the decision of whether to breach the fragile barrier we had relied on, the one that kept her from the harsh reality that encroached like shadows closing in. "Just some advice," I finally replied, forcing a smile that tasted bittersweet on my tongue. "Mia, I need you to promise me something," I said, my heart racing. "You have to be brave. Things might change, and they may get a little scary. But I won't let anyone hurt you. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, I swear it." She gazed at me, and for a moment, I could see the flicker of fear in her eyes, a mirror reflecting my own. "I'll try, Max," she replied, clutching her stuffed bunny like a shield, her knuckles white against the soft fabric. Just then, my phone buzzed again, a sharp reminder that we were still at the mercy of forces beyond our understanding. Halting my breath, I opened the notification. A message from a number I didn't recognize lit up the screen. "Meet me in the parking garage. I have information about the supplies. Come alone, or risk everything." My pulse quickened. A sense of foreboding settled, mingling with a dangerous curiosity. Who was this? And could I really trust anyone amid the shadowy undercurrents swirling around us? But beneath the fear, something else stirred, a spark of urgency, the need to act before the tides of despair pulled us under completely. "Max?" Mia was looking at me intently, her innocent gaze piercing through my thoughts. "What is it?" I hesitated, torn between the necessity of the meeting and the promise I'd made to protect her. "It's nothing, just someone who might help." I didn't want to frighten her further with the truth that sometimes chances had to be taken, even if it put you at greater risk. Again, her brow furrowed. "Promise you'll be safe?" "Of course," I insisted, trying to sound more assured than I felt. I needed her to believe I had a plan, that it wasn't just swirling chaos. With a nod from Mia, I stood up, collecting my resolve with shaky breaths. "I'll be right back," I said, measuring every word as though they might unravel the fragile threads binding us together. The hallway leading out of the hospital felt different now, charged with electric anticipation and fear. Each step reverberated as dread and hope twisted into a tight knot in my chest. What was I getting myself into? This wasn't just about a meeting, it was the bait dangling in front of a predator. In the parking garage, the fluorescent lights flickered, casting cold shadows that danced eerily across the slick concrete floor. The air was heavy with the smell of exhaust, but beneath that, I caught a whiff of something acrid, fear oozing from unnoticed corners. A figure leaned against a trash receptacle, half shrouded in darkness, his features obscured by the dim light. "Glad you came," he said, his voice low and gravelly, a tone mirroring the man in the trench coat. I clenched my fists, nerves sparking. "Who are you?" "Just someone trying to help your sister. I know about the supplies. It's worse than you think." "You don't have much time," he said, pushing off the wall and stepping closer, the warmth of his presence dissipating amid my growing unease. "There's a shipment coming in tomorrow, and if you don't act, someone will intercept it, someone you don't want anywhere near Mia. Why should I trust you?" I asked, each word heavy with doubt. He looked me square in the eye, the weight of something unsaid hanging in the space between us. "Because I've seen what happens when people turn a blind eye. Your sister's life is at stake. We're out of time." My gut twisted at the knowledge layered within his words. "How do you know so much? Who are you really?" "I'm not the enemy, Max." "I promise you." "Then prove it." I interjected, my voice breaking as panic threatened to overwhelm me. Mia's face flashed in my mind, her small hands, her fragile hope. "Tell me what to do." The man sighed, an exhaustion sitting deeply within him. "Find a way to gain access to this shipment. It's on the hospital grounds, but only at night. You'll need a distraction, something that'll draw the security's attention away." "Distraction? For security? What if I get caught?" "Then you'll have to calculate your risks," he continued, leaning closer, urgency coloring every syllable. "There are people who will try to stop you. But do this, and there's a chance to save her. You may even find allies you didn't expect." The vulnerability hung heavy in the air as his words bore down on me, chains of fate growing tighter, binding me to a choice I never wanted to consider. "What kind of allies?" I whispered, trepidation coiling around me. "People in the same boat as you, desperate for help, but there's also threat." He paused, his eyes darkening. "Those who want to keep this hidden will stop at nothing to protect their interests." Then his phone rang, and as he glanced at the screen, his face paled. I can't stay. You need to decide quickly. Will you follow through? Desperation hung thick in the air as one truth crystallized. I was already in too deep, and backing away now seemed impossible. I'll do it, I said, newfound determination igniting within me. For Mia. Good. He stepped back, melding into the shadows. Remember, keep your head down. You can't trust anyone, not even the people who seem to be on your side, and then he vanished, leaving me alone with the thrum of impending chaos. As I navigated back through the hospital, dread seeped through my heart, a growing fear of what I would find, and of what lengths I would have to go to protect my sister. With each step closer to the room, the weight felt heavier, but I held on to one glimmer of hope. I had something to fight for. Just as I pushed open the door, a warning text illuminated my phone screen. I know what you're planning. Back off if you value what's left of your family. My heart dropped. Who was watching? The shadowed specter of danger loomed larger now. Max? Mia's small voice sliced through my thoughts. You're back. What happened? I had to hold it together, for her. But deep down, I felt the walls closing in, the battle ahead unfurling like a grotesque flower, petals of hope intertwined with strands of fear. As I looked at my sister, I knew my choices could change everything, for better or worse, and amidst that uncertainty, the essence of our struggles began to crystallize into something terrifyingly real. Everything's going to be all right, I managed to say, my voice shaky but holding the promise of a fight that was only just beginning. But as I spoke, I couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom clinging to the edges of my resolve. What lay ahead might very well tear us apart. And with each heartbeat, this precarious game of survival deepened further into shadows I never intended to confront. Time had always slipped through my fingers like sand, but in these dark hours, it felt as though the world had come to a standstill. My heart thudded like a drum, echoing the turmoil swirling in my mind, a cacophony barely contained after the meeting with that mysterious stranger. The hospital room was a twisted reflection of everything I cherished, me fragile sister lying in that bed, the gentle beeping of machines juxtaposed against the chaos of the outside world. With her fragile trust in me as my only anchor, I sank into a silence that felt suffocating. Mia, I murmured, my voice cracking, we're going to figure this out, I promise. But even as I said it, self-doubt loomed like a predator in the shadows of my heart. Max, she asked again, her small voice trembling. It broke through the fog of my spiraling thoughts, and I tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, willing strength to fill the hollow spaces in my chest. Are you sure? Absolutely. I offered her a Smilia mask draped over the chaos boiling within me. But her gaze remained skeptical, searching for truth beneath my rehearsed confidence. I could feel the weight of the world settling between us, the unspoken fears stifling hope. I don't want to be a burden, she whispered, her worry casting a shadow over the faint light of her own resilience. Mia, you are never a burden. My voice wavered with raw intensity, punctuated by the truth of my conviction. You're my sister, and I want to fight this battle with you, she nodded slowly, her spirit still flickering like a candle in the wind. Okay. Just then, my phone buzzed again, an insistent reminder that danger loomed just beyond the walls. I hesitated before glancing at the screen, my stomach sinking as I read the ominous warning flash across it. I know what you're planning. Back off if you value what's left of your family. A chill washed over me. Who could be threatening us now? Before I could break the silence, my mother, still as vigilant as ever, stepped into the room, concern knitting her brow tight. Max, everything okay? Yeah, I lied, a strategy one had grown increasingly uncomfortable with. But the shadows were creeping closer, and I had to keep her worries at bay until I sorted through this tangled mess. Just the usual, she turned her gaze toward Mia, her eyes softening. Sweetheart, how are you feeling? Mia smiled weakly, but there was a flicker of vulnerability. I'm trying to be brave. Max said we could fight together. Our mother's gaze darted back to me, a mixture of pride and concern etched on her features. I felt the weight of our unspoken fears, the looming media frenzy, the threats, and the world barely held back by our thin boundary of hope. Mia, I began hesitantly, I think it might be time for us to make some tough choices. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? I met someone, and they said there are forces working against us. I faltered. And it's more than just the media. It's about your treatment too. I need to do something to protect you. At that, my mother's face fell, and a veil of worry shadowed her features. Max, be careful. You don't know what you're dealing with. I know, Mom, I sighed, wrestling with the reality thrust into my path. But I can't let them hurt Mia. I won't let anything get in the way of her treatment. What did you find out? My mother pressed, her gaze sharpening. There's a shipment of supplies coming in. Supplies? She echoed, her brow furrowed. What kind of supplies? Medical supplies that may not be what they seem. It felt wrong to dredge up the depth of potential corruption tied to her treatment, but the thought of MIA's worsening malady propelled me forward. What do you want to do? She pressed, her voice tense. That I want to ensure that she receives the right treatment. I need to get involved, I replied, determination bolstering my resolve. I could feel the air grow heavy with uncertainty, but there was no turning back. MIA's eyes sparkled with something deep yet wounded. Do you think I'm going to be okay? A lump lodged in my throat. I was about to deny her fears, to reassure her that we would overcome. Yet, the truth coursed through my veins like poison. We're going to fight for you, Mia. But we have to prepare for whatever comes our way, and in that moment, I watched as the flicker of resolve ignited within her, the same fire that lingered in the memories of laughter and shared dreams we had fought to reclaim. Just promise me one thing, she whispered, her voice shaking slightly. Promise we'll face it together. Promise you won't let any of this change who I am, who we are. A tear slipped free, pooling in the corners of my eyes. I promise, Mia. Always. With a sense of purpose wrapping around us like a protective embrace, I grasped her hand tighter, feeling the pulse of our shared resolve. But just as serenity began to settle, alarm bells rang through the hospital, a loud commotion erupting in the immediate vicinity. My heart jumped. What's happening? Our mother moved toward the door, her instincts kicking in. Stay here. I need to see what that noise is. But before she could step fully out, the door burst open, and a cadre of hospital staff rushed in, frantic shouts filling the room. We need to evacuate. There's been an emergency situation on the floor. Panic washed over me. What do you mean? There's a suspected gas leak. The building needs to be cleared. One of the nurses called, urgency threading through her voice. In that fleeting moment, as I turned to Mia, fear lodged itself like a thorn in my heart. The very ground beneath us felt unsteady. Everything I had tried to keep at bay, every fear that threatened our sanctuary, barreled into reality. Mia! I shouted, ushering her toward the door, my voice wrapped in panic. We have to go. Now. Frantically, I guided her through the chaos, the world around us feeling like it was collapsing into the earth beneath our feet. The echoes of loud alarms and rushed footsteps ignited a primal urge to protect, adrenaline coursing through my veins with each hurried breath. Mama! Mia cried, pulling me to a stop as the reality of our separation loomed. She's right there. I said, pushing through the throng of escaping families, scanning the crowd for my mother's familiar face. Finally, I spotted her, moving through the chaos to reach us. Relief washed over me as she grasped Mia's hand. But my heart raced, danger lurked around every corner, cloaked in the chaos of frightened souls evacuating. They led us down the sterile hall, through the cacophony of alarm bells ringing against grinding metal doors, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. We would escape this nightmare. Just then, I caught a glimmer of the shadows dancing alongside us. A tall figure with dark hair locked eyes with me, a knowing smirk touching his lips, flickering and fading like a mirage in the turmoil. The man from the parking garage. A chill descended, and a thought struck me like lightning. Did he have something to do with this? Was this the chaos he warned me about? Mia! I called, trying to push forward, to navigate us past what felt like an impending storm. Keep moving. We need to get out of here. But just then, a voice broke through the din, and with it came the heaviness of realization. You shouldn't have come here, echoing from the disembodied figure now moving farther into the growing shadows of terror. Everything shifted again, the burden of upheaval settling into our bones. A tremor shook through my core. But the flicker of resilience in Mia's eyes ignited a fire in my heart, and amidst the blaring alarms, I tightened my grip around her hand, whispering fervently, I won't let anything happen to you. As we veered toward the exit, a piercing scream cut through the frenzy, pulling my attention toward a figure crumpling on the floor, an echo of desperation and dread. I recognized that voice all too clearly. Mia! Get back! My words came too late as the chaos spiraled into chaos, and I felt panic clench around my throat. I darted toward where the figure lay, but the rush of bodies overwhelmed any sense of safety. Amid the disarray, I turned to find Mia still pressing courageously at my side. Stay with me, I commanded, and the fire ignited in her depths. Once more. I could feel the strength of her spirit lifting us both as we charged into the jaws of uncertainty. But no matter how hard I fought, how desperately I clung to her hand, it felt as if the ground was slipping away. We were engulfed in shadows. And as we burst through those emergency doors, the world outside engulfed us in light and chaos as we tumbled out onto the concrete below. A cacophony of murmurs and shouts clashed around me, but all I could focus on was Mia's hand in mine, gripping tight, refusing to let go. Max! She shouted through the burgeoning fog of voices as we stumbled forward into the parking lot. Stay close! I shouted back, the determination anchoring us both against the tide of uncertainty. And so we moved through the world of shadows and moans, the fear coiling around our throats as we pushed toward an unknown horizon. Whatever lay ahead would test not just our strength, but the bonds we shared, a perilous journey into the heart of darkness. In that moment, a single thought emerged, echoing above the thunder of frantic hearts. This was the fight of our lives, and we would either emerge together or succumb to the shadows threatening to tear us apart. And with the lifeblood of our bond coursing through me, I swore, no matter how fierce the storm that brewed ahead, I would shield her from whatever feared darkness was coming. For Mia, I would fight with every ounce of strength I had left, even if it meant wading into the very heart of the shadows. It was our story still unwritten, and I would not rest until we found our light again. Together, I thought as the chaos raged around us, we are stronger than the fear. And perhaps, just perhaps, that resilience would carry us through.